And indeed, it's another phenomenal morning on the Morning Machine, the machine that makes your mornings move. Thank you. With so much gratitude for making the machine a part of your daily morning routine. And part of that morning routine means music. That's what it means. Yes, music is a part of your morning routine every single day, especially when you listen to this station. You already know what time it is. So, I got some great music for you. But I have to talk about the man first. Got to talk about the artist. Got to talk about Decatur where it's greater, right? Native Dre Debonair, a triple threat talent. I'm talking about triple threat, like they tell you to get in the triple threat position in basketball. Yes, as a point guard, you got to be the triple threat of a talent. And he makes waves within the independent music scene, crafting a lane of his own, developing an undeniable sound. He takes those blends of pop and R&B, bringing outside elements of jazz, gospel, funk, and musical theater together to create a redefining lane of pop music. That's right. Pop, dirty pop. Yeah, you know what I mean? Y'all remember that song. Don't act like y'all don't. Especially if you grew up in the 2000s, early 2000s. You know that song. Anyway, with that said, while most artists categorize into one genre, Dre has proven his versatility to be his secret weapon. Yes. Inspired by the likes of Cisco, Tony Braxton, Janet Jackson, Bobby Brown, he's truly a dynamic vocalist and show-stopping performer. If you listen to Realm, Saturdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, you probably know one of the songs. Have you heard Hot Commodity? Okay, I'll wait. In the meantime, if you haven't, you're going to hear something today. All right? So understand that he has done so many things as it pertains to his music journey, and we're going to talk about it right now. Once again, welcome Decatur where it's greater than native, the Dre Debonair.
Yeah.
You gotta say Debonair.
Debonair.
You know what I mean? You gotta really pop your collar on it and be like,
yeah, you gotta make them feel it. You know, it's the Debonair.
It is Dre Debonair.
Yeah, there we go.
You gotta say it like that. You know what I mean?
You gotta say it like you mean it.
You gotta say it with your chest. You gotta put some respect on it. And that has what people have been doing as it pertains to your music. They're putting a lot of respect on your name. But the name had to start from somewhere, so as I always do with every guest, we got to take it back to the old school. Let's take it to Union Square. Let's go back to when in the world was the light bulb moment that you developed that passion for music?
Yeah, man, I mean, that introduction was great. I really appreciate that. You know, made me feel all good about myself.
Good. We'll come to the table about me introducing you everywhere you go. That'll be fine.
That'll be great.
That'll be dope. Yes, indeed.
But for sure, when it comes to my start in music, it's a few different places. So, like most kids in the South, my music taste started in church. I grew up in church. That was primarily my life from basically since I was born to roughly about 14 years old. It was church. I was praise team leader. I was in the choir. I was doing a lot of different things there. So granted, I am a multi-talented individual. Singing was the first talent that I discovered that I had. And from very young, I remember always telling my family about how I was going to be this big, amazing star. American Idol had just come out when I was actually functioning. I was talking about how I was going to Hollywood one day and I was going to turn it out. And, you know, just seeing years later.
Marini,
during that time.
That was the first one. And Ryan Seacrest was fresh out of Georgia at that particular point at Star here. He was a lot of people don't know that Ryan Seacrest was actually a local radio personality here at Star 94.
Yeah, Star 94.
Good
pop station. Yeah. So basically, just seeing myself these years later, after going through singing, I immediately jumped into a marching band. So during my high school years, that was my life, marching band and theater. It was, if I wasn't at one, I was at the other. So it's been cultivating for quite some time. So when I finally decided to step into my own, I had already had the foundations. It was just about me finding my direction
Yeah.
and making it happen.
Absolutely. And in making it happen, you had so many things musically that you could have went to. You could have
Yes.
you could have been the Dr. Kirk Franklin.
Could
right?
have.
You could have went there and said, "Let me hear ya." You could have went there. You could have went into pop, which you have, right? You could have
Absolutely.
went into so many different lanes, musical theater. You could have went into all of these different lanes.
Yeah.
Now you had to jump into the pop scene,
Yeah,
right?
I
So
did.
wait. So with all of this happening at one time, was it tough for you to really decide which lane you wanted to get into? Because you had a passion for each and every one of them, but sometimes you have to really, some of those have to take a back seat, and you gotta choose one, and then branch off on others later, right?
Yeah.
What was it like to have to come to grips with that decision, being able to do so many different things with your talent?
Yeah, it was definitely a process. I would definitely say the biggest gripe came to where my heart specifically was, as opposed to what
Exactly.
other people saw for me.
Mhm.
So, of course, like I grew up singing gospel, but that wasn't necessarily what my focus wanted to be once I got into a space. Having a degree in theater, I was doing the musical theater thing, and granted, I was booking the lead roles. I was getting great reception from that, but there was just something still just different about me that wasn't necessarily your cookie cutter musical theater
Right.
performer. And so it came down to pop versus R&B. And so growing up for me, the pop stars are who always captivated me.
Mhm.
The entertainment factor, the costumes, the performance, the choreography, the type of music. I really enjoy up-tempo music. And again, coming from marching band, like you hear the marching band sound from Frankie Beverly to Paula Abdul to Whitney Houston to Michael Jackson. It's like it's been in my blood. Little did I know this entire time. So choosing to go into pop and seeing where the current landscape was, it was a no-brainer for me. There was nobody doing what I do in pop music, especially a black guy in pop music right now. There was nobody really doing it in R&B as well.
True.
For the rising artists. So like what would be considered my peers, my rising generation, I saw the need for something that I possessed that nobody else did.
And it's interesting that you say that, because when it comes to pop, it's usually R&B songs and what have you that tend to cross over into the pop scene, especially since the late 90s, early 2000s. And some of those pop hits actually translate over to hip hop stations.
Yes.
I'm noticing.
Yes, they do.
And I saw that a lot a few years ago with Sam Smith.
Yes.
Sam
Prime
Smith,
example.
Prime example. Pop star ends up having this pop song on hip hop stations.
Yep.
Because so many people in the black community love that song.
They do.
Stay with me.
Staple Sam
There
Smith
was
song.
there's a couple of songs of his that have crossed over from not just the pop scene, but to hip hop R&B scene.
Yeah.
So they consider them both, even though now when you look at them, see, how when black people finally look at the artist and they realize it's the Michael McDonald effect.
Yes.
You
bait and switch.
know about Michael
Yeah,
McDonald.
yeah.
I will be there. I will be there. If you didn't know that he was part of a rock group,
Yes, he was.
but everybody thought that man was black the whole time.
Until the videos came out. The pictures came out. Yeah.
He's like, who is this Michael McDonald dude? Let me Google him. And then next thing you know, oh my goodness, he is not black. You see what I'm saying?
We've been blackfished.
Oh, that's a good one. But
Yeah,
the
was a
great
lot.
moments that we have on the morning machine right here. But the same thing happened with what is that man name? What You Won't Do for Love. Bobby Caldwell.
Yeah.
They said the same thing about him, because these guys had soul. and they were able to cross over in different genres way back in the 70s and the 80s. They were able to cross those barriers. Michael McDonald especially. They were able to cross those barriers between R&B and soft rock. Now, early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, you got pop, hip hop, R&B.
Yep.
J-Lo, hip hop song, crossing over to pop.
Yep.
Just because everybody's embracing the culture. Now we see this often. What do you see for the next wave of crossover music? Because, especially as it pertains to black artists, what do you see coming for the next wave of crossover genres?
I definitely think the performance aspect is going to hold a really big weight on crossover these days. I think there's a resurgence coming of those performers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think back then, the way you presented yourself and the way that you performed that song really could make or break a record for specific audiences. So getting into those pop spaces or into those R&B spaces or hip hop spaces, I think society is currently seeing the lack of effort when it comes to like artistry and really being something amazing. So wanting to cross over into different genres, I think you're now going to have to also have something that appeals to each one of those genres. So as opposed to just one song that's transition, it has to be multiple things about you that speaks to multiple audiences, because it is also personality based these days as well. So when you're trying to cross over, you can no longer think about what works for my specific audience that I've cultivated. If you're trying to cross over, you have to now think about what's happening over there that I could possibly fit into. Maybe I could alter my image a bit for this crowd to accept me while keeping my sound this specific way, and then enhancing my performance in this specific way, or aligning myself with these specific people. I think it's really going to come down to that performance of being an artist at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And even at the end of the day in a music journey, there's always challenges that happen. You've had a long journey as a music artist, and there's so many things that try to get in the way, or, there's naysayers here, there's naysayers there, or what have you. What has been the biggest challenge of your musical journey so far, and how in the world did you overcome it?
Money. Money is always the challenge. The money. Because of the type of artist that I am and the amount of detail I like to put into my work, everything costs.
Yes,
when people see me, they really enjoy my solo performance. But I know at this current moment in my career, a lot of people are waiting for me to take that next step to getting the full shebang, the full lock in, the full dancers. And people also tend to forget that these things cost money. I can't slide people $25 and expect top tier quality if I'm expecting to give an audience a show that they're expecting because they know what I possess. So if I'm not treating everyone else around me in that same type of respect, financially, they're not going to put in the commitment. They're not going to want to do the effort. So right now, I'm completely independent. No backing. I pay for all the studio time. I pay for the rehearsals. I pay for the costume, and I pay for the video shoots. I pay everyone involved. So really right now, money is the biggest issue, because even down to the marketing side, that costs money. A lot of the biggest songs, or even songs that you don't even reach this big pinnacle status, but that well enough, it took money just to get it out into the ears. It took money to get you in front of them visually. So social media promotion, radio promotion, booking shows, a lot of things are pay to play these days. So money is definitely the biggest issue for me right now. But fortunately, I do pretty well for myself. So what I'm creating now, I fully cater all of my extra income to the music. So the things that you see, the way it's polished, all of those things, I've started learning how to graphic design for myself. I style myself most of the time. I write my own lyrics. So it's really, I had to learn a lot of things to figure out where I could cut corners until I have the money to pay people to do those other things, because these days it's also about a lot of clout. So branding on the internet, everyone's like, pay me. I won't work for nobody for less than this amount. But if you have a certain amount of clout, they'll take the exposure every single time.
Absolutely.
And then they'll try to, go on a rant a year or two later about how they did all these things for you, and, you paid them in thank yous and pizza. But when it's the upcoming artist, Oh, nobody wants to hear that. They don't want to take the chances of seeing what your potential is. I'm serious. They will take the pizzas and the thank yous and the Instagram videos just to say they was around this person.
Hey, you said pizzas though.
I'm telling you, these people don't be getting. You can just hear about the Cleopatra and the Ice Spice, and she couldn't get no chicken salad. She couldn't get no pizza.
Oh,
I'm
man.
telling you, them people are paying you in thank yous and maybe a few pictures, but when it comes to indie artists who don't have as big of a clout, always we want full price. We want everything you got. I'm not doing this for you. I don't get anything out of it. And granted, these business transactions should be beneficial to both parties, but I feel like because money is such a huge thing in the entire entertainment industry, not even just music, that's the biggest struggle. But again, I've done a great job at making it work for me until I can get into a space where maybe I do find a label that believes me enough to say, hey, we love what you're doing and we just want to enhance that, as opposed to finding an environment where it's saying, we're giving you the money so you're doing what we say do. So right now, until I can find that perfect partnership, that equal 50-50, it's just me.
Let's talk about stage presence, because you've done a lot of performance, and you've kind of molded yourself around the theater, the performing arts, and what have you. So you really were able to take care of those butterflies, which are still around.
Yes.
They can still happen.
Absolutely.
Of course,
every time.
Every single time. And I think a lot of it is more adrenaline rather than being scared to go
yes.
on.
You get it.
Right. So there's a difference maker. There's, oh man, I'm nervous because I don't know how I'm going to do, versus, look, I'm just nervous, but I'm about to go on this stage and
give them everything I got.
Give it everything I got and exert all of this nervous energy. See, there's a difference maker to that. You're nervous with confidence, and then you're nervous without confidence. So how did you build that nervous confidence, as I should say?
Honestly, without being cocky, I just always believed in myself. I feel like my talent speaks volumes, and I feel like there are so many people out there who are not doing what I'm doing. And so as opposed to feeling nervous about how an audience will receive me, I'm very confident in what I bring to the table. Mm-hmm. There have been plenty of audiences where 2 people in the crowd knew me out of a crowd of 500. Right. And by the time I'm done, everybody's on their feet because I was confident enough to know what I bring to the stage is not like anything that I know you get on a regular basis.
Exactly.
So marching band, musical theater, like having that training, not realizing this was preparing me for this eventual career, it's never been about being nervous about my perception. It's about, I know the standard that I bring. I'm more so nervous about making sure I'm hitting that standard, if not exceeding it to every single audience. So it's just that consistent artist development. I'm always in vocal lessons every week. I'm in dance classes every week. I'm always buying clothes for stage. It's not even necessarily just to wear outside. It's like, if I book a show this way, this could be themed this way. So it's just really understanding all the work that I put into the show, kind of like that musical theater, that consistent rehearsal. So by the time I'm performing in front of people, it's not a matter of me being afraid. It's a matter of giving you everything that I've been working on because I know it's amazing.
Absolutely. Now, what are the top 3 things that most independent artists should know when it comes to having stage presence? You can be an artist and have no stage presence whatsoever because you may not have done it before, or your stage fright supersedes the actual music and your artistry. And a lot of times that could be that particular mindset that you got to get out of your own way. Yeah. It can be in your own way a lot of times. So what are those top 3 things that you would say are best for new up-and-coming independent artists? They're on the same journey and they need that stage presence. They need to develop it. What do you say?
I would say first and foremost, you need to know yourself. Mm-hmm. You need to know who are you presenting yourself as in front of this audience. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times when you are new, audiences kind of have you in their palms because you've never performed before. You don't really know the difference between center stage, left stage, right? You don't really know the full difference of those things. And so when you're in front of those audiences and you're coming in timid, they can feel those things.
Yes,
when you're
do.
coming in and you're nervous, they can feel those things. So if you have a little bit more confidence and understanding as this is who I'm presenting myself as an artist, that's half the battle right there. Because at that point, you're telling the audience, this is who I am and this is who you're going to accept for the next 10 to 20 minutes. Because regardless of what I do, you'll remember and understand exactly who I was while I was on this stage.
It's like you're going to hear me today.
Yeah, you're going to hear me today. But like I said, if you're coming on stage and you don't really have that confidence in who you are, the audience is going to dictate who you are while you're on the stage. Your voice will start cracking. You'll start singing a little softer because you feel like no one's interacting with you in the crowd because you don't have that command of not just the audience. It has to start with yourself. If you don't have any command over yourself, you can't command the audience because you're conflicted, you're confused.
Right.
So that's definitely number one. Number two, rehearsal helps. Rehearsal helps a lot. A lot of people do not like to rehearse. I love rehearsal.
Why you say that like Dr. Lee and Drumline? What did we rehearse?
Exactly. Why did we rehearse? We rehearse for a reason.
Rehearse?
Because people will get on stage and they're like, oh yeah, I just went over this 10 minutes before I ain't sang this song all week. I ain't rapped this song all week. And you get on stage and you expect top tier performance, but you haven't put in the work to make sure by the time you get to the stage that nerves turns into adrenaline and not necessarily fear. So rehearsal is absolutely necessary when you're trying to get into these spaces because you can absolutely tell, especially in lineups where there are multiple artists, who's rehearsed, who's polished, who's using this as a hobby, who had a connection, whose mom probably is on the board and is just kicking it up here for fun. Like you can definitely...
Yo, you calling them out today.
Because it's, like I said, you see this stuff each and every day. So that's why I'm saying when you come into those spaces and you know that you don't have those opportunities of someone giving you a handout, you have to be good.
It's like, who was the politician?
Yeah, who was the politician in this specific instance? And you got to understand, if you're not the politician, you got to work 400 times harder than kids to the left of you because they like, oh yeah, my dad, he owns the building, so I just kind of showed up and they gave me the headline spot. And you like, I've been doing this for about 10 years at this point, and
like
they just cut my set in half to give you more time.
It's like, bruh, are you proven? You okay? All right.
Yeah.
You're gonna cut from my set.
Yeah.
You better do.
You better knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
And it's very rare. Very rare that they actually knock it out of the park.
Right.
Usually, which brings me to number 3. Cultivating a set.
Yes.
People do not understand there is a difference between performing tracks and backing tracks.
Yes.
If you are singing, rapping, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If there's sound coming out of your vocal cords, there should be no sound coming out of the lead vocal in your track that you're performing in front of people. Because now you're clashing with the vocal that's on the studio track. And if you don't sound like that studio track, now it's a conflicted audience. God forbid you had a ton of
everybody gonna put you on social media either lip syncing or the vocals are, you're
pitchy, flat, not there. Like you can tell when the enhancements have really done a lot of work. So when you figure out your set, you have to do that rehearsal because you have to understand this is where I exert this energy here. Maybe I could take a little break here and just focus on the ad libs. Take this lead. You have to understand how to do those things because, again, that comes with knowing yourself as an artist, put in that rehearsal, and then you can cultivate a set that's tailored specifically to you because, again, when you get in front of these audiences, especially when you're coming up, they don't know you. So you got one shot to really show them this is me. And whether you see me again tomorrow or in 2 years, you're going to remember who I am every time you see me hit the stage because of the lasting impression that I bring every time I perform.
Absolutely. And see, that's where we now translate from the stage to the studio.
Yeah.
Because the stage is one thing, but the studio is another.
Completely different
Yet it's a private space, but you either got to lock in or you get locked out. And so the thing is that when you're in the studio, right, when you get locked in, a lot of people don't know how important the mindset is, what mindset needs to happen before you even get in the booth and lay the track down. So talk about where artist mindset has to be when getting into this studio space, if you will?
You definitely have to be focused. I think focus is the primary thing that you need when you're going into a studio space, because when you're paying for time, or someone's paying for time, so you're on the clock. It's not like an unlimited thing.
Right.
You're on the clock, so you have to go in there focused, and you have to go in there knowing exactly what you want to do, or at least 75% of the way, so that when you in there, you're doing leads, you're doing backgrounds, you're trying different harmonies, you're trying different intricate patterns to really explore the song. You have to know what you're doing, because the engineer can only do so much work.
Right.
I've seen a lot of people, they love 16,000 people in the studio with them. It's smoke everywhere, drink everywhere.
Oh yeah, there's
nobody.
pizzas too.
Yeah, pizza. Lots of pizza. Lots of pizza.
I had to bring that back because you know there's pizza in the other room waiting on that.
Definitely pizza. And so it's like they're not in those environments to enhance what's going on. They're in there to just feel the clout, feel the energy. And the person in the booth is like, you tearing the song up because you too focused on what's going on out here, because you brought your entire entourage. They're going through this pizza like crazy. Everybody's on drugs. Everybody's drunk. How are you effectively making something that's meaningful to you at the end of the day, because you're not focused?
Bro, when you said everybody's in the room feeling the clout, that couldn't be better said.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's like, okay, how many more people do you need to show that you're doing
that
something?
You're doing, yeah.
Not everybody needs to know that, because then you get into situations where they can be fatal sometimes, because they know what you got going on. Okay, cool. They might be ride or die, but you might die for the ride.
Exactly.
Unfortunately. And
at the moment you think not.
And that has what's happened to a lot of Atlanta artists these days. People have been around for the clout and witnessed a lot of our Atlanta artists go down to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot. They thought they were their partners, and next thing you know, the partner
They said the partner was popping.
You know, like, yeah, exactly. And not even that. You know, one disagreement and, you know, gone the next time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, bankroll.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, there were, keep in mind, there were ladies in the car, probably for clout at that time. We didn't see Shawty Low after that late night, early morning on 285. They survived. He did not.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Clout can really get you in trouble. You don't need to know what everybody don't need to know what you're doing as an artist.
They also don't need to know where you are at all times either.
That's true. Turn your location off.
Yeah. You don't got to live stream everything. You don't got to Snapchat everything. You don't got to put everything in your story. I'm here from this. If it's not a show where people can actually come, there's no reason that they need to know.
Space.
Yeah.
Correct. If they can't come to if they can't, first of all, buy tickets, A. B, come to a protected space where there's security and police around, where it's a controlled environment, a controlled atmosphere, if you would, a safe space. Then, you know, a lot of people just post, all right, oh, I'm up in the hood. Oh, I'm here. I'm there.
I'm at Lenox Mall. I'm at this. Why are you telling all these people these things when you know in this day and age a lot of people
they didn't promote you to be there.
Yeah.
So why are you posting that? You're promoting yourself there, and now you just made a giveaway. You gave it away. And so, and that's the thing. You know, there's a lot of people that there's do's and don'ts as an artist. You explained a lot of the do's, but we also got into the don'ts of being an artist, because as you grow, not everybody can grow with you. Yeah. You outgrow people. Let me ask you this. That's what brings me to this question. Brother, how many people have you had to say, you know what, as your status continues to grow, bro or sis, you can't go. I'm sorry. I just can't have this foolishness. You just gotta You just gotta stay back here. I'm not for the foolery. I'm not with all this. I don't do that type of stuff no more. I'm a changed man. I'm on a mission for this music. And you had to leave people behind. Have you had that sort of thing with several people? And how did you go about it? Because it's not easy to tell the person, even if you can tell them, that you're gonna get left behind at this point. So I mean, I just can't.
Man, it's been quite a handful. Because I'm always pushing to get to my next level.
Yes.
Talent-wise, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. There's a season for everybody. And so even there have been times where there were people I was trying to keep around. I was fighting so hard to keep people around, but God was like snatching them right back. Like, no, like the more you keep, I'm showing you this person cannot go to your next level. Like, I know your human mind may be trying to give them benefit of the doubt, or, they possess these qualities, they just, I don't get it. Why not? And God is just steadily snatching people away from you. But then he also gives you that discernment at the same time of understanding he has better for you. And so granted, these may be your best friends, your siblings, your parents, co-workers you may have gotten close to, romantic partners. At the end of the day, if there's something in your heart, God placed it there for a reason. And so you have to trust him enough to listen to him, to understand that everything has a purpose. Everything is happening to you for a specific reason. And though it may hurt, these may be the closest people in your heart. These may be people you feel like you've poured so much of yourself into, and you don't really want to leave them behind because you've always envisioned your life with these specific people, even when you made it to a certain point. It gets to a time where you have to surrender to God, to say, I'm listening. And God will tell you exactly, this person isn't coming. This person isn't coming. And even if you don't necessarily hear his voice, he'll put you in situations where you understand this person is not for you. They were cool for the time being, but where you're about to go, they're not trying to grow and get there with you. They have ulterior motives. There are things that they've done and said that you have no clue about, but I know everything. And for me, there have been a lot of times where I felt like maybe I've been overthinking, or maybe I'm, being a bit crazy or trying to have too much control. But the entire time it was God. God was revealing to me left and right of, you're not crazy. It's right there in front of your face.
Right.
I'm going to put you in a situation so you can see it even further. Even if you think that I might have been playing around with you, I'm going to make it even more apparent. You got to get away from this person. Lead them where they at. And sometimes it's not even conversations had. You just got to distance yourself and disappear. And then you just easily see why that happened. Y'all are going in two different directions. They going left, you going right. You may be going up and they headed straight down. At that point, you got to let that go. It hurts. Trust me, it hurts. And you just have to internalize. God did not put these dreams in your heart for no reason. And if this wasn't important to the final destination, it wouldn't be happening to
you. Now that's what I'm talking about. That was definitely well said, beyond measure. And, that's what gets me into now the music that you have created. We already have been playing Hot Commodity, which is already hot, right?
Thank you.
But then, since then, you have also released a new song that you have currently, RSVP. Talk about the development of RSVP.
Ooh.
Respond, s'il vous plaît.
It's okay, thank you. You get it. Okay.
Just respond, if you will.
Yes. So it's actually really funny that this is what we were just talking about previously and how RSVP derived.
Look like they RSVP'd some more pizza. No, let me stop. Pizza has been the word of the day today.
Woo. So basically, RSVP. For starters, I typically, like I said, like to make up-tempo music. We don't get a lot of that, especially from black artists. So I try to keep things danceable, of course, to aid in that performance as well. But of course, I know there needs to be some sort of duality. So, like I said, I could have gone into the R&B spaces. So when I do these slower tempo songs, it's me kind of giving just a taste of like, if I wanted to make the full jump, I could make the full jump. I'm just choosing not to.
Right.
So when I was developing RSVP, it was more so I knew I was releasing 2 up tempos and I needed that slow tempo. So originally there was an EP planned, but 2 tracks I ended up getting rid of, so it just became 3 standalone tracks because to me, I at least need a 5-piece to make it a full EP. So RSVP ended up making the cut. When I wrote RSVP, I was heavily romantically involved at that time, and my nose was wide open. I wanted to give you the world. I wanted to show you that somebody could really be there for you, give you all the love. It didn't matter if I just saw you yesterday. I'm trying to see you again tonight. It don't matter. Don't worry about what you don't have or what you do have. I'm here for you. I'm really just trying to focus on the connection. Just RSVP. Let me know that my heart is something you also want. I need it to be a mutual thing. And so, like, I know when people hear the song, they feel like there's sexual undertones, in which I was purposeful with, like, how the culture goes, but the overall message in the song was more so me just saying, like, I'm trying to do this with you, and we don't have to make this about the world. It doesn't have to be about everybody else around us. It's about me and you, this genuine connection. I enjoy you well enough to let you know I'm down for you. And whenever you need me, whatever you need from me, I'm here. I'm a RSVP every time, but I also need you to RSVP for me. And so the funny thing is, the prior conversation we just had about being removed from people,
right?
I was fighting.
Yeah.
Fighting like, I'm trying to make this work.
Tyson fight.
I'm like trying to make this work. Like, what can I do here? What can I do there? I'm trying to, I'm really, because for me, if I'm going to involve myself with you, I'm going to involve myself with you. Because I don't involve myself quite often, so I'm like, I don't get this too often. If I'm going to fight till the wheels fall off. So I was fighting. My face was getting played in left and right. Stuff is literally in my face, and I'm being gaslit. Like, no, that's not what's going on. I'm so sorry. That's not what I said. And I'm like, I'm literally, everything you saying is not matching with what you're doing.
Right.
And so I took that as God saying, you gotta let that go. And every time you try to fix it and fight for it, I'm gonna snatch it right back. I'm gonna make sure she turn around and show you she ain't for your next part.
Exactly.
And so,
and even you were shown the signs then too.
Yeah.
But you kept fighting.
I kept fighting.
Like, just like, why?
It's like I'm trying to give you the world.
It's not up to you to understand, but you'll see.
Yeah.
You see it, and you still fight. Like,
still fight tooth and nail. I'm like, maybe I'm supposed to fight. Maybe that's what it's supposed to be. You ain't never had no love like this, so I'm really trying to like show you can have it. You worthy, you deserving of it. And the whole time, you was showing me you didn't want it. At every turn. So for me, it was more so like I was trying to give you what I felt like you deserved when you were showing me what I didn't deserve.
You almost got me snatching the headphones off my head.
And so,
sheesh.
Every time I hear RSVP now, it's low key like the memories start flashing back in the head. So for me, it's still on the more like, that was crazy. I really wanted that. But you listen to the song and it's still such a great song. I can't deny how great of a song it is. But when I cultivated that song, nose was wide open at that time, and I was really just trying to like express my feelings in a different way without seeming overbearing. So, yeah, it's a great song.
I tell you, and that great song we're going to hear in just a couple of minutes from now. But what is the best advice that you have for independent artists across the world who listen to this program daily that are really stuck within their journey now and don't know where the next space is to move, and they're scared, they're frightened, they are petrified to move because they have that they're nervous without confidence.
Yeah.
They don't have the nerve, they haven't built up the nervous confidence yet. So what's the best advice that you can give to them so they can start their next part of the journey?
Validation comes from within.
Mm.
These days, social media plays a huge role in the way people value themselves. If you don't love what you do, if you don't think it's great, if you're waiting on the opinion of someone else to tell you how great of a job that you did, this isn't the industry for you. I can't tell you how many times people have come to me with epiphanies when I first started of saying like they didn't see it for me, and then I proved them wrong. And granted, I was never in the business of proving them wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I was simply focused on what I was doing and where I was headed.
Right.
But there were so many people talking in the sidelines, whispering in the background, playing in the woods, eating the pizza. And I had to realize that confidence and validation came from me. Because if I didn't have that confidence and validation, I would have never even started. It's never about being perfect. It's about starting and getting better each and every turn. We don't all have access to labels. We don't all have access to a full-fledged machine behind us.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look within and say, what's special about me enough to keep me going?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I still going?
Mm-hmm.
What's different about me that nobody else is doing that doesn't even concern me, because I'm so confident in what I bring to the table. No matter how many songs I make, no matter how many performances I do, no matter how many interviews I speak at, I know what I possess, and what I possess is valid enough to keep going each and every day.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. And of course, we have some great time coming up in just a moment here that we are going to really debut RSVP. And if you missed it today, you can definitely hear it on Realm on Saturday afternoons, right here on the 102.6 The Situation, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You convert it if you're in other time zones. You can also hear Hot Commodity on Realm as well. So you definitely want to make sure that you are tuned in and locked in, okay? So with that said, before we do that, before we give this debut to the listening audience this morning, tell everybody where we can find you, follow you, connect, and most importantly, support your music.
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Dre Debonair. You can find me on TikTok at The Iconic Legend. You can find me on YouTube at Dre Debonair. The best way to support me is to buy the music. Follow me, join my community. In order for me to get footing, in order for me to continue, in order for me to get that big stage and those dances and those bands that y'all aspire to see me with, which I also aspire for, I need the funding. I need the support. I need the demand for me to be there. So if you want to join my community, I'm here with open arms. It's a great time to be a pop music fan, a great time to be a black pop music fan especially. So if you need that void filled of a black male pop star, look no further. Dre Debonair here for you.
There it is. There it is. I mean, that couldn't be better said than that. So y'all go do what you do. You heard all the information. Go ahead and support. Follow. Show your love. Dre, you can't get rid of us even if you tried. You know you got to
I would never.
here, brother. This was a very insightful conversation, and I look to have you back to have more insightful conversation coming very soon. You'll be back before the end of the year.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
can guarantee that. You'll be back before the end of the year. So I always speak things into existence. Grammys are coming.
Oh, Grammys
are coming.
Yeah.
Get your mantle ready.
I absolutely will.
Get your mantle ready.
It's actually going to be a trophy case, a glass trophies case.
Whatever you got,
Yeah.
get it ready because it's going to get serious for you.
I appreciate that. I receive
Speak
it.
into existence moment. It's going to get serious for you.
Thank you.
Stay locked in as you've been doing, and you know the results will reciprocate.
I received that.
Keep
I believe
doing
that.
what you're doing, and the results will reciprocate.
Thank you.
So your work ethic is, you know, you can't even really explain your work ethic, but you kind of did it in this whole interview.
Yeah.
Right? So with that said, out there in Radio Land, now that you are inspired and you are doing everything you can to make sure that you follow and support, I've given you enough time. Now it's time to get to the premiere. The song by Decatur, Where It's Greater's own Dre Debonair. You gotta say Debonair. Dre Debonair with RSVP. See if you can relate to this music right here, right now, on the Morning Machine. Let's go! And that'll do it, yes.
Yeah.